Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. Join one of the Adelaide 36ers' favourite sons as we deep dive into everything past and present about one of the most storied franchises in the NBL. It's Sixers Fix, your Adelaide 36ers podcast.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome to another week of Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. And I know it wasn't a winning week for the Adelaide 36ers, but I thought still a lot of positive to take out of the games we saw last week against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and the Perth Wildcats on the road. And now we've got a trip to Cairns to look forward to this Sunday, and let's hope it's a chance for the Sixers to get back on the winners list. We'll have all of our regular segments once again, plus a very special guest on the show. I'm Chris Pike, but the man with his name on the show, the man that's the only one to ever be involved in every NBL championship the 36ers have won, Scott Ninnis. How do we find you this week?
Very disappointed, to be brutally honest, mate. Look, I can't get over that Phoenix game. I was such a disappointing finish. You know, we had our opportunities. The game should have been on ice, 2 or 3 minutes out from the end. But I guess, no one gave us much of a chance going into Perth, with the injuries we had. And, I thought they showed, a bit of pluck. They sort of showed that they... were at least up for the task, especially early. But I think what it does do, and I think this is the same time, exactly when we played Cairns last time, I made the comment that it's an absolute must game, and that's what it becomes again. And, this time it's on their home turf. They've had their struggles through the year, but we just have to get this done. And I'm pretty confident that we will. I think they're a team that, for whatever reason, just cannot defend Daniel Johnson. So he's going to be comfortable going in there, and I think we just need to take care of business. We've got to make sure that obviously we do the job on the the Machados and the Olivers of this world, but we can't let some of these role players chip in and get into double figures and make life tough for us. But it does. It becomes a must-win this week for the 36ers.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points. We'll talk a bit more about it later in the show. But I think if they play as they did in those 2 games last week, I think they'll go up to Cairns and get the win. It's just a matter of maintaining that effort. So this week on Sixers Fix, we've got a very special guest, as I mentioned. Thanks to Sports Card World, we'll speak to Isaac Humphries and get an update on where his foot injury is and how he's settling into life in Adelaide. Of course, we'll have an update on our Premium Wine Tours Player of the Year award. We'll give away another prize pack thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi when we name our Player of the Weekend. And this part of the show, Scott, is brought to you by All Star Photos. So Kelly Barnes, the best in the business when it comes to sports photography and especially basketball photography in Adelaide. So check him out at allstarphotos.com.au or get in touch with him at info@allstarphotos.com.au. No better time right now as the basketball competitions are starting up once again. So get all your team photos done and get in touch with Kelly, and he will look after you. So Scott, let's go back a week to the first game of last round against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. There's a lot to like about it, unfortunately, and it's becoming a little bit of a trend where I guess there's a few honourable losses starting to pile up. But when you look back on it, this game probably shouldn't have even got to overtime. The 36ers were the better team for most of those first 4 quarters.
Oh, mate, I definitely shouldn't have got to overtime, and I don't consider it an honourable loss. I mean, to me, this is probably... outside the New Zealand game where we just were on old-fashioned ass-kicking from start to finish, I mean, this is the one for me that I was, not the way that it finished, not the way that we couldn't execute to win the game, but the effort areas that let us down. That's where there's no excuse. And offensive rebounding has been a problem for a lot of the season. But it's, it's not, I'm not talking about the offensive rebounds where someone shoots a 3-pointer, it's a long rebound. I'm talking about when the ball's there to be got. We're on defense, so we've got the inside position anyway, and we just don't come up with those 50-50 balls. And in that game, if there was a loose ball on the ground, if there was a rebound to be won, they won them all the time. And that must just, Connor Henry just must be tearing his hair out, when, okay, the game's on the line, we take care of business, And it's over with 3 minutes to go. We got all the momentum. We got Brandon Paul hitting big shots, and then the effort areas let us down, and there really is no excuse for that. And
and you can't blame the coach for that either, can you? It's just the players have to put in the effort.
Yeah, well, the game's on the line, and our season is sort of getting to, well, it's not on the line yet, but it's getting very close to being in that situation. The ball's on the ground. They got people throwing themselves on the ground, and we're standing there looking at them and not making that really hard effort to get the ball. And to me, that was, my wife would tell you, I was not the happiest of people to be around after that game. To me, that was just one that should never have got to overtime. And you just had the feeling once it got to overtime, they had all the momentum, they were going to go on with it, and that's what happened. So, look, I was very, very, very frustrated at the end of that game. And then to lose Josh Giddey, as well, just really hurt.
Well, listen to these numbers. It backs up what you're saying, and we'll get to the Perth game shortly, and the numbers are even worse. But against the Phoenix, they had 15 offensive rebounds. We had 6. They scored 22 second chance points off those, and the Sixers only had 5 second chance points. And I quite often say it very rarely doesn't end up being the case. Whoever wins the possession game usually wins a game of basketball, and the Phoenix ended up taking 15 more shots than the 36ers, and that's the game. It's those offensive rebounds for the extra shots.
Absolutely. You're just giving yourself more opportunity to win. And, 15 offensive rebounds, I'm pretty sure it was 7 or 8 in the last quarter alone. And that really is inexcusable. And look, I know the team has addressed that. I know they've sat down and looked at that. And that's great. It's great that they could go, okay, what's the problem here? Show them physically, this is you missing a box out or whatever. But at the end of the day, you just got to take care of business, and you've got to have that desire to just go out there and make sure that, the next time that ball's on the floor, we're the first to it. It's such teams are so even a lot of the times throughout the case of the NBL season, and, the game, we've seen how many close games there are that do come down to a possession or two. Well, you take care of those effort areas, and you win those games. And that to me is what the most frustrating part of that game was. Sure, there was good signs, but we should have won that game. I mean, that's the start and finish of it.
Now, there's some good numbers from individuals. Josh Giddey was tremendous. 15 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and you notice a difference once he hurt his ankle and wasn't out on the floor. Brandon Paul, I thought, really, really good signs again. 20 points, 3 assists, hit 4 3-pointers. Johnson, 15 points again. Sunday Dech, 13 points. Tony Crockett, 10. Jack McVeigh, 10. Is it tough to, look at those as positives when you're feeling so flat about the result? When, like you said, this was probably the one game out of every game this season that shouldn't have been a loss, the way that they played, and it was in their own hands to make it a win, and they just let it slip. Oh,
absolutely. All those things you mentioned are great, but at the end of the day, it's a loss that we couldn't afford to have that should have 100% been a win. And Brandon Paul's settling in better, and once again, all those things you say are true, but from my point of view, it is just really hard to overlook that final result, because you always knew that going in Perth was going to be a difficult one. Well, it always is. It has been for 35 years. So you knew that was going to be tough. So that to me was just the one that got away, and really. And we spoke about it last week too. After losing that previous game against Perth from a potentially unlosable position, how that does tend to affect, your psyche when you get into a close game. And I saw that firsthand myself in my last season as well, that, you just do start to tighten up. But it should never have got to that point as far as this game was concerned.
No, and it would have given so much more belief going to the game against Perth on Monday night. And I don't think you can fault... I guess you can fault the effort in some ways, because we'll get to the numbers about the offensive rebounds shortly, but I thought it was a really good effort. Felt like they fought hard pretty much the whole 4 quarters. They were within a chance despite everything going against them, including no Josh Giddey and no Isaac Humphries, but I don't know if they ever believed in themselves that they could win the game, and maybe that's because they couldn't close the job on Friday night and they couldn't close the job against them 2 weeks earlier at the NBL Cup. I mean, I felt like they were in the game, but I never felt like they were actually going to make that leap to win it. Is that how you felt?
I think that's fair comment, mate. Absolutely. I love their endeavour. I love the way they, the effort they put in, and the guys who got some extra opportunity. Dan Dillon had his best game of the season, and I thought, played really well. Jack has continued. He hasn't had a bad game in the last 6 or 7. I don't think, and I thought it was a great effort. But once again, it's difficult to have that belief that when you've lost so many close games in positions that probably should have won from, and obviously you've got Bryce Cotton, who I guess reaffirms in everyone's mind just what a superstar he is, and the best player we've seen in this competition in a long, long time, and. We're now talking with Brett last night about, he's now ranked in the all-time greats, and he, if the Wildcats win a couple of more championships and he gets another couple of MVPs, who knows, mate? He might be the best ever, but he's already in consideration now for that, for those one of those all-time greats. So he obviously had his way with us, and there's no shame in that. He's a great.
I don't think anyone could have done anything about anyone. There's no one in the league. I don't know if there's anyone really in the NBA that could have done anything about how he played on Monday night. You almost had to just accept he was going to be scoring at least 36 points, which he ended up doing.
Look, absolutely. And look. To me, that's not the problem. I look down the line and see Mooney with 9 offensive rebounds. I see us letting Mitch Norton score 13 points. There's some of those things are the ones that you just got to take care of business. One guy's not going to beat you. Well, very rarely is going to beat you by himself. But you look at some of those other things that can be controlled, and that's a disappointing thing. But once again, I think they will take. Showing that they can compete with Perth in Perth, with injuries, I think they will take a lot of heart out of that game. And I think most people, expected us to get beaten by 30 in that game. And, the fact we didn't, the fact we were there with them, I think that they can take a lot of heart out of that and move forward in this Cairns game with hopefully some confidence against a team that they've already beaten.
Yeah, I think so too. A couple of things I wanted to pick your brain about. Coming into the game with Josh Giddey ruled out, Alex Madronya ended up starting, and I'm not sure. I think it was time to throw Brandon Paul in there, and by the end of the game, Paul had only played 18 minutes and took 5 shots. To me, this was the time to put Brandon on Bryce Cotton for the entire game. If Bryce still scores 36, so be it. I think Brandon had every chance to score 36 himself, but he takes 5 shots and plays 18 minutes, and to me, I think that might have been a really missed opportunity.
Yeah, I it's easy from the outside, and once again, would I have started Madronya? Well, I don't think so. I certainly would have had Brandon Paul in there somewhere, but once again, I'm not the I'm not the coach. I have been, and there's a reason why I'm not anymore. But to me, I would have had Brandon Paul out there and made him the centerpiece of our offense. But we don't know what happens behind the scenes. We don't know why he didn't start. We don't know what Connor Henry was trying to look for and trying to do. Big ask for Madronya, but I think just on Cotton, I think that is a really big ask to ask a Brandon Paul to chase him round when we want him to be our main man up the other end. To me, you've got Madronya, you've got Brendan Tees, you've got Dan Dillon. I don't think any of those players are going to stop them, but they've got a lot of fouls to use, between him and beat him up and wear him down over the course of the game. So, I know when I was playing for the South East Melbourne Magic and we're a very physical team. When we played against the Perth Wildcats back in those days, Darren Lucas, his job and my job was we weren't going to stop Ricky Gross because no one stopped Ricky Gross. But our job was to turn him in the backcourt, try and wear him down in the course of the game, so that come down the stretch of that last quarter, because you knew the game was going to be closed, that he might just miss that 3-point shot. He might not, So that's the mindset I would have liked to see the Sixers take with Bryce Cotton. No one's going to stop him, but you got guys who could be physical and use up some fouls, and if they only playing 10 or 15 minutes and they're not your key guys, Well, every time you bump him away from the ball, every time you make him catch that ball a step off, further out than where he wants to get it, you've achieved what you're trying to do, because hopefully it might just, he might just miss that important shot down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, those offensive rebound numbers, they're the big difference in this game as well. So Perth had 24 of them. They scored 24 second chance points. Adelaide, 5 offensive rebounds and 7 second chance points. And as a result, the Wildcats end up taking 20 more shots, and the fouls are probably another factor as well. 19 extra foul shots as well. It's pretty tough to win a game when you're taking 18 fewer shots and getting to the foul line 20 less times than the opposition.
Look, you're right, and it's obviously now has become a mammoth problem that has to be addressed. Now, sure, at times we're going with a short lineup with Jack McVeigh at the 4, but by no means am I just pointing the finger at our big guys either. Yes, Daniel Johnson and Pinder need to, they need to control the defensive boards. They're the 2 guys with the inside position, sure. But we're getting guys, we need help. This needs to be, rebounding is a team problem. It's not just a one individual or 2 individual. This is a team issue. So yep. we need, Crocker needs to be in there. Majonna or Dillon need to be at the foul line waiting for those long rebounds. It can't be just something that we go, okay, DJ, you need to get 20 rebounds a game. We need this to be, a mindset, collective mindset where they're going, you know what, this is, every time they get an offensive rebound, it should be like a dagger in the heart. And it should be, this is not going to happen the next time down the court, because, ultimately, and you've seen it over, anyone that's watched basketball for a long time, you give off offensive rebounds, inevitably the team is going to score off it. You give up a second and third offensive rebound, they're definitely going to score. In a lot of cases, it's kicking out to a wide open 3-point shooter, and that's what really, really hurts. So it's and it doesn't get any easier, against Cairns. Jawai scares me a little bit. If Mike Kelly, Mike Kelly's probably getting similar criticism, I guess, to what Connor Henry has with not playing Jawai enough. The same with Brandon Paul. We don't have a great matchup for Jawai, and by the same token, there's no way that he can guard a Daniel Johnson either. So. They got some big boys, some big bodies out there who are going to crash the boards and are athletic. That has to be the absolute number one mindset going in there, that we're not, the opposition's not scoring, not at having 15 more shot attempts or 20 more shot attempts than us. It's happened in the last 2 games. Absolutely.
So, again, a lot to like from that Perth game, despite what we're saying. I mean, it was a 10-point loss, but it's against the best team in the competition right now, and it was without Josh Giddey, it was without Isaac Humphries, and really for most of the last quarter, it was without Sunday Dech, it was without Keanu Pinder, and then even Brandon Paul rolled his ankle late in the game. So it was a pretty brave effort in a lot of ways. It just would have probably been a bit easier to take if they had been able to close the deal against the Phoenix a couple of days earlier, I suppose, when you look back on it. But some players stood out once again, so let's update our Premium Wine Tours Player of the Year award, Scott. And against the Phoenix, we got Josh Giddey for the 3, Brandon Paul the 2, Sunday Dech the 1. There's probably a few guys in there for the mix. It's nice to have a few guys putting their hands up.
It is, and we've spoken about this before. It's great when you've got choices. We've had games when we're haven't had 3 players that probably deserve votes. So it's it's great when you do have that those sort of choices, and that's certainly in that Phoenix game. I thought there was the votes could have gone to a number of different players, but that's the way we went with those votes. So I think we had 5, maybe even 6 players in double figures, which is a great sign. And when you're doing that and you've got those sort of options, you are going to win a lot of those games. But unfortunately, as we spoke about, that just didn't happen.
Yeah, and then against the Wildcats on Monday, Daniel Johnson the 3, Daniel Dillon the 2, and Jack McVeigh the 1. It was great to see Daniel Dillon grab his minutes early, and then that just forced Connor to have to play him for longer because he earned his minutes, and clearly his best game of the season, maybe his best game in the 2 seasons he's been here in Adelaide.
Yeah, to be honest with you, watching from afar last year, I wouldn't have been surprised if they moved in another direction. I know that he was signed for this year, but he was used fairly sparingly last year and didn't have a lot of great games. So I was really happy for him. I like Dan. He's a quality guy, and he's that big guard. Surely he obviously can't. Doesn't have the athleticism that he once had. But those veterans are invaluable, and it was great to see him have a great game. He was 5 for 5 from the field, and really gave us a lift when he played.
Yeah, and he had a great time up in Cairns going back a decade, so I'm sure he's looking forward to getting back up there now on Sunday. The leaderboard, though, Scott, on the Premium Wine Tours Player of the Year, Daniel Johnson's out on top, 33, but Josh Giddey's closing that gap, so let's hope he's not out for too long with this ankle injury. He's only back on 25, and if Isaac Humphries gets back and has enough games, he's still there close enough on 20. Sunday Dech is still a chance if he puts together some form. He's 13. Tony Crocker 6, Jack McVeigh 6, and Brandon Paul, he's only played 3 games, but he's already got 4 votes. So with 17 games to go, I would suggest any of those guys can probably still win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you still have to think that DJ is probably going to poll enough votes. I expect us to be, if I look into my crystal ball, mate, I expect us to be talking next week, probably with another 3 votes from DJ. I know...
he loves playing against Cairns.
He loves playing against Cairns, and once again, they just don't have people to stop him. You think Mike Kelly might try and double him a bit more, which might limit his influence to open up for other guys. But it's great that it's open. I know that Isaac's itching to get back out there, and boy, do we need him. But unfortunately, that's still a couple of weeks away. And they announced today that Josh Giddey won't play in this game against Cairns. But once again, I think that just gives people opportunity, and so the Daniel Dillons of this world go into that game knowing that they're going to play extended minutes, and from a player's point of view, when you know that, especially someone who, probably hasn't been getting regular minutes, that can give you a bit of confidence knowing that you're going to be able to have an opportunity to go out there and make a difference. So I like our chances. As I said, it's a must win. We just got to go up there regardless of who we've got in the lineup and make sure we get away with a win on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Scott, let's take a quick break to now get to our Australian Motors Mitsubishi Player of the Week award for round 10 in the NBL. We put the vote out there to our listeners with the options of Daniel Johnson and Josh Giddey. Even though Josh only played the one game, he was still outstanding in that one game that he did play against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, where he almost had that triple-double in the overtime game. But it was Daniel Johnson that ended up on top in our votes cast by our listeners. And now it's time to announce the winner of the prize pack for this week, thanks to our good friends at Australian Motors Mitsubishi. And now, Scott, your favourite part of the show. We'll do a drum roll as we get the names together in our hat. Okay, and the lucky winner this week of the prize pack, thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi, is Kelly Barnes. Great supporter of our show here at Sixers Fix, so why shouldn't he get a bit of a reward for it? He'll be the special winner of the prize pack thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi. Make sure you join us next week. Check out our social media pages. Just type in Sixers Fix and check us out on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Cast your vote and you could be the lucky winner next week thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi. Let's take a deep breath, Scott. Let's have a chat to Isaac Humphries now and get an update on how he's tracking and everything else. Before we get to him, before he got injured, were you pleasantly surprised with just how good he was playing? Because he was leading most MVP voting thoughts across the league by the time he got injured.
Oh, I was blown away. I think like most people, that first game when he was coming off that little knee niggle and that injury, he didn't play a lot and he didn't have a great game. And then someone flicked the switch and this monster came to play every week. And it was just, he just had the ability to lift a crowd and his energy and what he was. I think what surprised me the most is what he was able to do defensively, and that was really, really exciting. So we just need him back on the court as quickly as humanly possible, and look forward to seeing him out there again.
Yeah, but before that, let's have a chat to him here on Sixers Fix, and when we come back, we'll be with Isaac Humphries. Okay, back here on Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. And Scott, this is a chat that we've been looking forward to having all season. We couldn't have been more impressed with what Isaac Humphries has brought to the 36ers. We're obviously disappointed he's sidelined at the moment, but hopefully that's not going to last too much longer. Isaac, how do we find you right now, and how frustrated is it being on the sidelines?
It's very frustrating, especially, we're in a bit of a losing streak, so that makes it worse. But, yeah, it's very frustrating because, I was feeling really good and felt like I was playing really well, and just really, really annoying timing and not what I really wanted this year. But can't really control it and just have to kind of see the positives in the situation and just come back stronger and make the most of my rehab and all that sort of stuff. And just, I guess that's the only real mentality you can have with an injury like this.
Right, let's not dance around, mate. Every 36er fan wants to know when you're going to be on the court. Can you give us a bit of an update on the injury and how that's all going?
Yeah, it's going well. We're progressing pretty well. I don't know when I'll be back. I'm hoping a couple more weeks, so not too much longer, but we're kind of moving into that stage of, running and walking like without my boot and running and sort of entering into that stage now. So that's kind of positive. But we just have to be careful. It's a very sensitive little injury down there. And I'm a big dude. So it's, holding up a lot of weight, and feet in general are just hard injuries. So they're very intricate. So we're not 100% sure, but, in my head, I'm hoping just a couple more weeks. But like I said, we're not 100% sure yet.
And I guess that's the thing. It seems like the season's gone on forever already, but there's still a lot of games to go. And I think what you said there is right. We've got to make sure that when you do get back on court, that you're not going to be in a position to re-injure yourself. So that's I like the fact that you're going with caution, and but it must be killing you not being out there and watching some of these tight games that we've ended up on the wrong side of.
Yeah, it is, because I love a good tight game, and I love playing in them, and I love a good OT. But it's very. I mean, it's hard in general watching my team play without me anyway. But it being so close in a couple of them, and coming right down to the end there, it's been even worse, like even more frustrating. So. I'm definitely with you on that one. I just want it to get better so I can get back out there and play.
And this is, it's obviously been a season like no other we've ever seen in the history of any sport or any part of the world, I suppose. But how did you find it with the 3 or 4 months you spent in pre-season, not knowing when the season was going to start, and how did you and the team sort of keep yourself, I guess, mentally, strong throughout that time? It just seems to be like such a difficult thing to do. It must have been tough on everyone, I suppose.
Yeah, it was hard. It was definitely something no one was used to, and we were all trying to figure it out as it kind of went, with everyone. So it was definitely weird, and it wasn't ideal having for what felt like 6-month preseason. Because bodies started to break down like by the end of it, and we hadn't even started the season yet. So it was very strange and a very weird kind of element to factor into our off season. But I guess we got through it and that sort of thing. But I think us getting through it was a lot to do with off the court. We kind of came together and gelled really quickly as a team, and we would do stuff a lot off the court, and have a lot of fun. And I think that kept us going, because we would be working so hard in the gym and on the court, for so long with no real, date in sight. We just were training, I don't know, just seemingly, it seemed like it was just for no reason really, but it wasn't. It was obviously for a reason, but we were training so much, and what kept us going was how much fun we'd have with each other off the court. I mean, Scotty, we did that wine tour and we had an awesome time. Thank you for that. But we obviously just loved, hanging out with each other in that preseason. We still do, but I think that's what kind of kept us ticking over.
Mate, I think you make a really valid point there. I think that's really important in any team to be successful. Obviously you spent so much time grinding it out on the court, and this year more than anyone, you've got to have, you've got to do stuff away from the basketball with each other. I think that just builds up trust and that camaraderie. So that's that's really good to hear. And I just want to speak to you a little bit. I mean, you've played basketball all over the world, in the NBA, and overseas in other areas, here in Australia for Sydney. How are you finding Adelaide, injury aside? How have you found settling into Adelaide and the lifestyle here?
I've loved it. I very much enjoy Adelaide. It's a really cool city. I think it's got everything you need, and still got that kind of big city vibe. Like if you want it to be, or it's very quiet if you want it to be as well. I love where I live, down at Henley. I can't complain at all. And I think having, like I said, a really good group of teammates around me has made me sort of love it even more, because it's just sort of the whole package. But yeah, Adelaide's, it grew on me so quickly, and I'm constantly finding things and visiting places that just are blowing me away. And I think just South Australia in general as a state is one of the most underrated, most beautiful places in the world. And I've been able to get around a little bit and check some of these places out, and there's some incredible spots here. So yeah, I've very quickly fallen in love with Adelaide.
Now, Isaac, you mentioned you mentioned the wine tour you went on with Scott before. I don't know if you're aware, but we've got a Play of the Year award here on the show. It's sponsored by Premium Wine Tours, and whoever wins gets a wine tour for 4, thanks to Scott. Now, when you got hurt, you were leading that. How much of a motivation is that to get back to try to win that?
That's just every day my motivation. That's what I live and breathe. That's what I think about every day.
Now, it's a tour for 4. Who would you take with you?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably some of the boys or my family. I'm not sure. Gosh, I don't know.
Hopefully, it's something you have to worry about.
I'm glad you talked about South Australia. You get no argument for this born and bred South Australian boy about how beautiful our city is.
Yeah,
mate. I just want to touch on you. There's been a lot made of the on-court camaraderie between you and Josh Giddey. Was that something that was obvious from day one, or was it something that you worked to or spoke with each other about? Because when you guys get involved with each other, it's been a thing of beauty.
Yeah, and it's really awesome to be a part of, for sure. But no, we didn't plan it. Josh is a quiet kid, so he was kind of hard to get to know at the start of the season, because he just kind of keeps to himself and he's shy and he's young, and just have to kind of figure it all out still. So it wasn't planned or anything like that. And in practices, we never were really. We weren't on the same team very often, so we never really got to form that connection until I sort of came back from a little knee niggle right before the season, and then we kind of found that connection literally in front of everyone. We were figuring it out when you guys were all watching it, so that's when all that happened. And as excited as everyone was to see that connection, it was awesome for us too, because we'd come out of every game and be like, wow, we can really we're just getting better, the two of us, and we can really just take over at some points, So it's been awesome. Obviously, yeah, very sad that we can't continue that at the moment, but I'm sure once I'm back and once he's back, we'll be right back on track and making that connection even better.
I also love the connection you developed with DJ. I mean, I think we all pretty much thought that you two were the best front court in the league. Did that come pretty naturally to team up so well alongside him?
I think on the court it was quite natural, because DJ is such a crafty player as it is, and he was always going to be a really good big to big passer and big to big sort of player. We always knew that would sort of be pretty good offensively. But I made it DJ's a quiet guy as well, so I kind of made it a big goal of mine to kind of not crack him, but, get to know him a little bit better and form a good connection off the court as well, because I knew that would, especially with DJ, that would be really beneficial for us on the court. So I definitely worked at that one, and we both did. I mean, we knew it was going to be we were going to be a big part of our team, and we knew that we kind of needed to be on the same page. So yeah, we just worked on a friendship almost, and I think that has helped a lot on the court. And we feed off each other as well, and we genuinely are just so happy to let each other do their thing and play with each other when we can, and that sort of thing. But we're just always very excited for each other. It's a cool little connection.
So you've been in obviously an unfortunate position now to be out for a few games, and we've seen us lose some close games, and there are some issues, I guess, with giving up offensive rebounds, inability to close out close games. From what you're seeing, can you let us know what you think that the team needs to do going forward now that we've added Brandon Paul to turn those losses into wins?
Yeah, I think with the offensive rebounds, we actually went through that today in film. It's positional and just intent. I think it's there's an art to rebounding, and it's not just standing there and boxing out and getting the ball. Like, you've got to time it and figure out where the other man is, and there's a lot to rebounding. So we went through that today on film, and we were able to point out what we could change and do better, to get those rebounds, because obviously Perth just got so many off. I think it was 19 or maybe even 22 or something offensive rebounds last game, which is just way too much. So that is definitely being addressed, and hopefully that can take a turn the next couple games. I also think we need to just find a little bit more fight and a bit more grit towards the end of the games, because we put ourselves in really good positions to win, and then sort of fall back at the end there, kind of, and then just don't fully close the game out. And I think that will hopefully change over the next couple games as well. But yeah, I mean, it's so hard for me because I'm not with the boys. I don't travel with the boys at the moment, so it's tough just watching. But that's what I'm seeing.
Well, just mentioned Brandon Paul. How is he settling into the group? Obviously, we see that he's got a ton of ability. Is he fitting in well on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, he is. He's a good dude. Like I said, I haven't been traveling, and we've had so many away games. So I haven't got to know him that well yet. But the boys, obviously Toby is a great dude. And from what I've had to do with him, he's a great guy. And a player, I mean, he's going to be really good for us. He's a really good shooter. So we kind of need that reliable shooting at the option at the moment, to go along with some of our other shooters. But I think with him, it's just finding his feet a little bit in the league. And, it always takes a couple games to find your feet in the NBL, I feel like, and just sort of get used to our system and all that sort of thing. I think he's only played a couple games, like 2 or 3 games with us, right? So
right, yeah.
There's definitely, that adjustment period that he still needs to go through, and hopefully we just start seeing his confidence and just the trust with everyone just sort of come together a bit more.
So we've had some devastating losses. I don't think there's any way of dressing that up. How is it on a day-to-day basis? Like, I know you're saying you haven't travelled, but I know sometimes when you have losses of that, it can really impact upon your psyche, whether you know it or not. A spirit still up? Is everyone still confident moving forward that we can turn this around?
It really is. Everyone's spirits are definitely up. We've been having a lot of team meetings and just talking through a lot of stuff, even without the coaches. So spirits are definitely up, and we're talking through what we need to do and how we can get there. So there's no giving up or anything like that happening. Everyone's very much still in it. We just need a win to kind of break that ice a little bit, and just get us back on track. We're very, excited for this weekend going into Cairns. It's a game we can get for sure. And I think we really need it for a lot of reasons, but just to kind of get the ball rolling again on some wins.
And as we mentioned, there's still so long to go in this season. You know, there's a ton of games left to be able to turn it around. I just want to take a slightly different tack with you, Isaac. Your rookie year in the NBL was with the Sydney Kings. How have you found the NBL from that year you had with Sydney to this year in Adelaide? Are there similarities? Are there differences? Can you give us a bit of a idea from then to now?
I guess it's a bit hard because my rookie year was a normal season, and this season's been so weird and not normal. So I don't even know what to compare this year to. But I mean, the on the court stuff is still. I mean, it's. I think it's been a good league for a number of years now. I think it's better now. Playing on the court, the level is better. But I mean, gosh, it's hard because they're so different, and like I'm so different as well. So, you got me, Scotty.
So, well, mate, I guess that's another thing too. I mean, you're only 23 years old. You've been phenomenal on the court. From what we've seen this year, a lot of talk about getting back into the NBA. Is it still something that really drives you to get over there and establish yourself? Or are you happy just to get here for a couple of years and make a name for yourself? What's the future for Isaac Humphries, if you could predict it, I guess?
Well, I mean, I would love to be back in the NBA and a bit more solidified than I was last time. Like, that's obviously everyone's goal. It's definitely my goal. I came back to Australia due to weird circumstances, but was more than happy to stay and play because I love Australia and I love the NBL, and I'm having a great time. But I came back with the goal of heading back over there on a solid roster spot contract, and how that happens is whether that's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows? But that's the end goal. Not the end goal, but you know what I mean, like the next goal. And it's just a matter of kind of however that happens is how it happens. But I do go into the games thinking about that for sure, and just playing really hard. Something I learned in the G League with my time in the G League is that scouts are always watching. There's never like they're watching everything. There's never a game they're not watching pretty much anymore. So and being so under the nose of NBA teams in the G League, it just taught me to have to perform every game and play hard every game, because your resume is every single game you play. So that's what I go into every game with, just knowing that people are watching and I need to perform every game. And that's just how our business is at this sort of time in basketball careers, where you kind of 4 years in and want to sort of get to that next level, and you just have to be really diligent with it all.
Well, mate, I tell you what, it'd be nice to see a pick and roll in the NBA with Giddey to Humphries at some stage. That would be cool. That'd be every South Australian's new favourite team, whoever. But there's been a lot made about Josh's future and coming here for possibly just the 1 year and getting drafted. Having been there yourself, have you had any words of advice for him about the big picture and what he needs to do and to get to that in that position?
Yeah, we talk about it. Not a whole lot, because I know Josh likes to just kind of focus on the now, and we're all kind of focusing in on the now, and not letting that outside noise affect us too much. But we for sure talk about it, and he asks questions just about my experiences and what it's like, and I share insight. I think with Josh, like I said, because he's quiet and likes to kind of do his own thing, the locker room sort of vibe will be different, because NBA locker rooms are very loud and vibrant, and there's a lot going on and full on, as you can imagine. So that will be an adjustment for him, but that's fine. I mean, he's growing up and he's going to start his NBA career, and I think he'll be all good. And he seems very excited and very switched on with it all. And we definitely talk about it, but I think that'll be the big thing for him.
Chris, we have there's a bit of a running joke at all the 36er holiday camps and school clinics when we get the kids to ask questions of the team. And Brendan Tees is the main culprit here. Always asks, who's the best player you've ever played against in the NBA to Isaac? Or he gets one of the kids to do it. Now, I know that Isaac has played against the Greek freak, but that's not your answer, is it? As far as the guy that's the best player you've ever played against, is it?
Well, now I'm confused. I can't remember because every time I say different names, it's really easy, and I can't remember what I've said now.
Well, I think you mentioned Ulrich on a couple of occasions, haven't you?
Oh yeah, he was really good. I remember playing against him. He I have not modelled, but I had watched his game for a while because he's got that passing ability, like over the shoulder shooting ability, just really crafty in the post and. Yeah, I'd been watching him, and then my first NBA game was against him. I was guarding him, and he just was so smooth and so good. So, I think I had a tougher matchup against Aldridge than Giannis, but I think that could have just been like situational, like game situational. But yeah, I would say Aldridge, but obviously you kind of have to go with Giannis.
I think it makes sense to go with the guy that you actually matched up a little bit. Now, I've got to ask you, because it's so much fun watching you play because you bring so much energy at both ends of the floor. I think it was fantastic seeing the way you were playing defensively. What gives you a bigger rush? A big block shot or a big dunk?
That's a tough one. I was actually just talking about that with someone today. Not specifically that, but my one of our staff members on the team was shooting, and I said, just hold the ball out like a layup. Like I just want to feel like a block again. And swatted it away, and I just love that feeling. But I don't know. I mean, a big dunk and a good yell is always great, but swatting a ball away and like stopping a basket in crunch times, a really good feeling. So, that's a really tough one.
You're allowed to like both, I guess.
I take a lot of pride in my defense, so that and my block shots, as we all know. Yeah. So I'd probably say that would get me more into it. Probably a big block.
Yeah.
Well, I never got a block shot, guys. So I'm going with the dunk. So good eye.
Did you get a dunk? Did you even get a dunk, Scotty? Come on.
There's plenty of footage.
There's a man that doesn't know his history. Don't look at the now, Isaac. It took us about 15 kilos in about 20 years, and you had a supreme athlete.
Fair enough.
I've got one last one for you, Isaac. Now, we have a segment on this show, Ask the Coach, with Connor Henry. So when I get a player on, I give him the chance to give me a question to ask Connor that you might not ask him yourself in person. Does something spring to mind?
Ooh, something spring to mind. I don't know. Connor and I talk about some interesting things. What would I ask Connor? Gosh, I should have got the questions in advance so I could have some answers for you.
Are you going to start me and play me 35 minutes in my first game back? There's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. What does he'll probably laugh at this one. What does churn it actually mean?
You won't believe this. That's exactly what Sunday Dech got me to ask him.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask that on your behalf as well.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, do it.
Well, Isaac, we thank you so much for your time. I know this goes without saying, but myself and Chris and every 36er fan out there can't wait to see you back on the court. Good luck with the rehab and for the rest of the season, mate.
Thank you. I can't wait to be back out there too. So we're all in the same boat.
Okay, back here on Sixers Fix, and let's wrap up this week's show. It's been a big one already. I hope you all enjoyed that chat, especially with Isaac Humphries. And once again, thank you to Sports Card World for making that possible. Thanks to the support of Australian Motors Mitsubishi, All-Star Photos and Kelly Barnes. And check out his Art of the Hoops collection as well if you want to add some artwork to anywhere in your house or your office, really. And thanks to Premium Wine Tours for their support as well. Looking forward to the game in Cairns, Scott. It's going to be a fascinating one. Let's hope that Nate Jawai doesn't cut loose, but at the same time, let's hope Daniel Johnson does. Let's hope Brandon Paul is allowed to do his thing as well, and let's hope we're coming back next week with a win to talk about. I'll sign off, and I'm Chris Pike, and let's enjoy the game on Sunday and come back with a win next week, Scott, on Sixers Fix. But for now, I'll leave you with the final words.
Yeah, just quickly, mate. Isaac Humphries is an impressive young man, isn't he? He just comes across so well, and as mentioned, we need him back on the court. But look, I think it's such a long season, such a weird year that anything can happen. We can still get our season back on track, and I like our chances against Cairns. I really do. I think they've had their issues as well. I think we go up there with a lot of confidence, and looking forward to seeing that game Sunday afternoon, and with another win and putting us back on the right side of the ledger.